They got another one.
Who got another one?
Chris Hardwick now has like some sex scandal shit going on.
Oh, really? Wow, that's a weird one.
Yeah.
That one's gotta be kind of scary, almost. Like, that sounds like more serial
She
killer.
seems so nice and so friendly.
That's what I mean. Like, when you got people like that, that's when it gets kind of scary.
I mean, we gotta look into the whole story first. I'm not saying she's fucking lying, but I mean, you gotta look into the story first, and you gotta weigh it out. And the only people that really know are the two of them. But still, that's one of those things. Like, really? Fuck. All right. I mean, it's not like he was my favorite celebrity, but he always just came across as such a nice guy, and he has this whole like redemption story about it as a dude who is just like. Yeah, you know, I was going in a dark place. I had addiction problems, and I turned myself around and made my passion the main thing that I was into, and I never fitted into MTV or that whole, like, you know, like, celebrity life, but I still found a way, and I'm all happy now, and then it's just like, he was apparently very abusive and beat his fucking girlfriend! Like, oh, shit.
Did he beat her with, like, all their props that they collected? That's all I'm thinking of. We're like,
I don't
another
know.
fucking Freddy Krueger mask, you fucking bitch! Where am I gonna put my action figures at? Just a very, like, abusive, like almost, like, nerdy relationship. You stupid
What am I gonna do
cunt.
with another... What am I gonna do with another Admiral Akbar action figure?
So you know, it's like, that is where my Looney Tunes animation cell from 1952 is going. If I come home again and you filled up another spot in this forsaken fucking house from the 30s. That's all I picture, because it's like that's what I know of Chris Hardwick from his like home life, is that he has a lot of fucking shit in his house that he collects from like movie memorabilia and so on.
Well, it's just one of those things, like, and I'm not even saying that, like, I'm not even trying to make light of it. I know that, you know, who knows what happened, and I'm not even saying she's fucking lying or he's fucking lying. We don't really know until more of the story comes out. And
well,
my thing is, I don't even need to keep track of this shit. So a little blurb pops up, like, oh, Chris Hardwick, like, oh, fuck, what now? You know, and I look like, really? He just always seemed like such a nice guy, so it sucks when you find out, like, oh, man, him? All right.
Well, I think this is weird because it's like a lot of the guys, it's like they're not like on a very open media platform. They're almost kind of like behind the camera, or not behind the camera, but like in front of a camera, almost in like a fake persona. Where like I feel like when you're in a podcast, it's a little bit more like, hey, this is like jumping into some guy's like real life. So by that's there, then it goes like, well, what other podcasters are up to, you know, weird shit? Like that's gonna be the next thing, is they're gonna go after the podcasters now. They're like, we've gone after the television stars, we've taken down the movie world, and now it's time to kill the podcasters.
Just like you find out Aaron Mahnke from Lore is just like, I just really like to stomp people in the fucking face. Primarily hobos.
Yeah, just like terrible stuff. And it'd be just like, well, as much like, it's like, oh no, and Joe Rogan, it's like, he was involved with Louis C.K. They sat next to each other and did it. It's just like, they fucking just jerked off making eye contact, like, while watching other people, like, dance.
Well, this is one of those reasons while watching people dance.
Just be like,
well,
like,
yeah, he was
in on it. So was every other comedian. They just said they weren't. They all knew it was going on because they were doing it. Louis C.K., he's just the one that took the blame. You know what I mean? He was like when a guy goes to jail, you know, so that the rest of the mob can like be kind of like out of the picture.
He did what Walter Hill couldn't.
Exactly.
No, Henry, was it Henry?
Yeah, not
Henry
Walter
Hill?
Well, Walter Hill's the director.
Walter Hill is the director. Was it Henry Hill?
I don't know.
Ray Romano from Goodfellas. Yeah.
That's his name? Is Henry Hill?
I thought it was Henry Hill. It's Henry something.
I thought his name was like
Ray...
a
Not Ray. Did I say Ray Romano? I meant Ray. Is that fucking Ray Romano? Hey, from fucking Everybody Loves Raymond.
I was like, is that like his real name? Like, I thought it was one of those goofy things where it's like, oh, he changed his name to Ray Romano.
No, I'm fucking.
And his original name is Henry.
Is it Ray Liotta?
Ray Liotta? I'm just gonna start naming off Ray names.
Is that the actor's name? Ray Liotta. He has trouble laughing. Ray Liotta.
Yeah,
it's
from
Goodfellas.
like Goodfellas.
Yeah,
and he's also in Copland and so on.
Ray Liotta, I believe. Yeah, and I think the real life guy he was playing was Henry Hill. I think it was. I don't know. We have the internet right in front of us, but fuck it, I'm not gonna spend
Fuck it. In the olden days, you didn't look things up on the internet. You just tried to like think it out for yourself and just make it up. That was just how it worked. I feel like I like it.
Oh, go ahead.
I just say, like, in general in life, I think every once in a while it's kind of good to not have to look something up and just kind of, like, think your way through things. Even if you know you're 100% wrong, at least you put the effort in. You know what I mean? You didn't just look up what somebody else said.
Now I'm just thinking about just Ray Romano's voice. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. And then, like, his brother's like, Raymond, is someone in the fucking car? What the fuck was that noise? Like, ah, shit, pull over. We gotta look it up. Just the open.
That'd be an amazing one. The guy, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but
Everybody
the guy who
loves Goodfellas.
Yeah, there we go. But the guy who plays Raymond's brother, though, that guy is like he's hilarious in that show, but like you see him like in stand-up, or you just see him on a podcast where he's just like talking. That guy's super fucking hilarious. Like, he's so good, like so on par. Like, it's almost one of those ones that's like you almost see that's like it should be the other way around. I think this guy should be having the show, not Ray. Not saying that I like Ray Romano, but you know what I mean. Like, this is your gem comedian.
I've never seen that guy perform other than that show, but it's just one of those things. Just because the way he talks, you wouldn't expect it. Because he talks just like Raymond. You know, it's always so slow. So to hear that guy is super sharp and all that,
and he speaks really fast too, which is the weird part too. There's a great Rob Paulson one on one of his Talking Tunes. It's one of the early episodes he has.
He does a lot of cartoons.
Well, yeah, he does a lot of cartoons too, but like. He's on there, and like they're doing a live episode or whatnot, and that guy's fucking just on fire. He's a great podcast.
I have to go back and check out Talking Tunes again. It's been some time.
Dude, he's like all of a sudden, because there was a period where like Rob Paulson wasn't doing it for a while, and it was like, okay, it was like 6 months. It's like, I guess he's not doing the show anymore, and then all of a sudden he like came up on like, he's like, oh, I'm part of the Nerdist Network now, and here you go, here's a boatload of fucking episodes, and it's like, oh, what the fuck?
To bring it all back.
Bring it all back to the Nerdist, you know, one of those things. But
I'm assuming we're probably recording by this point.
Yeah, so hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we're just those couple podcasters that aren't involved in any scandals, because, yeah, I don't know, maybe scandals would help our sales, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, if we just, you know, came out and like, sorry, I don't know, let's see, you just find... Everything popping in my head, like, I don't want to have myself saying that on record, even if it is hypothetical.
Yeah, because I could use it against you at some point. That's what I feel like. That's the only doubt.
Just try and pitch like an underground hobo boxing ring.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, yeah, I'd love to see this. Ryan Dunigan says he loves watching hobos beat each other. In fact, he's invested, you know, thousands of dollars into this process. He goes down every night at 11:35 in the Tenderloin and participates in this gambling spree. He also smokes crack with the local affiliates there, and has been known to go to a glory hole or two. Oh, where'd you get all this information from? Well, we just took snippets from the Old Man Orange podcast.
Yeah, we've just been able to really piece this together. And apparently in between that, he really talks about Bruce Springsteen and Sonic the Hedgehog a lot, too.
Yeah, and he's also got this weird Batman thing, where, like, he likes Batman a little too much, you know?
We assume that he wears a bat mask while he does this.
Yeah,
but he's very specific.
That's why you
he doesn't
can't recognize him when you're down there.
He thinks he's fooling somebody. He's not.
It's literally just the drunk Batman outfit from the live-action movie they did.
Surprisingly, it fits him. He's happy about that, but I think he seems to be the only one who is.
You know, I think we should change the name from Drunk Batman to Crack Batman. What do you think? Just like one of those morning newscasts, just kind of like trying to crack light jokes at each other.
I'm just going to imagine, because there's at one point in time, back when we were doing the Drunk Batman cartoon, we were talking about an episode where he does switch it up from alcohol just to, like, crack for an episode. That never happened. But...
Yeah, well,
that's where we were going to make a bunch...
Too.
It was going to be, like, where he turned in Batman from Zathura or whatever, from that Grant Morrison. He was going to, like, be when he's in, like, the bright pink and yellow outfit, and he's like, this is Batman on crack.
It's like Drunk Batman on crack, so it's just like the outfit looks even goofy and barely fitting him, and his gut's still sticking out and so on.
So, but back to other cartoons. Well, cartoons, hybrids, things.
But yeah, we're gonna do a 1996 retrospect of one of the most awesome movies, though other people will tell you differently, Space Jam.
When the world's greatest athlete, Michael Jordan, teams up with the world's best-loved cartoon character, Bugs Bunny, you won't believe your eyes.
Pardon me, Mr. Jordan. Could I have your your John Hancock?
What's going on here?
We need your help! You heard of the Dream Team? Well, we're the Mean Team.
Ready?
Yeah!
Doc,
Yeah.
you kick it in here. You go to the hole and dominate. We on defense.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, I don't play defense.
Warner Brothers presents Jordan,
Bugs.
Bunny.
Special delivery!
Together, they just might save the world. Space Jam. You've never seen anything like it.
Mwah!
Now, this was a pretty big movie when I was a kid. This is actually the first time I saw a movie 3 times in theaters. And it wasn't like I got my parents to take me to go see it 3 times. I went to go see it the first time, then went to go to a friend's birthday party, and then my cousin, who hasn't seen it by that point, went to go see it. It's like, oh, come along too! So this is like the first time I saw a movie multiple times, and to me it was amazing. And for 4 months of my life, I wanted to become a professional basketball player.
Oh, didn't we all? It was just, it's this weird time period when you really think about it. Like, you got, like, I was never really into sports, but boy, it's like NBA Jam came out just before this, and then Space Jam, and it was like, yes, I am into basketball. Why not? It's like, I can't even really remember watching a whole lot of games afterwards. Probably watched a couple, like, Bulls games or so on like that. But it was just like, that in itself could bring you. It's funny how, like, really it's like had nothing to do with, like, it's not something I really cared about beforehand, but all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, there's a Michael Jordan Bugs Bunny movie. Like, this is like as 90s kids as you can get. Because, you know, basketball was the ultimate sport in the 90s. Like, I don't think like, as a kid, I do not remember, like, football standing out nearly as much. Definitely not baseball at that time period and so on. It was all about basketball.
90s was when an NBA really came up in a big bad way. I mean, it's big now, but in the 90s, that was like a huge jump for it. And I think because a lot of people were excited because of Michael Jordan and how, like, you know, he was just such a game changer, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. And what kind of got this movie rolling was, you know, because Michael Jordan was doing all these endorsement deals. There was a Nike ad where he was playing where he was in Bugs Bunny. I think it may have even been maybe a Super Bowl ad, possibly.
It was. But there was in like 1993 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah, so there was just this Nike ad with him and Bugs Bunny, and people liked that ad so much, like, you can make that into a fucking movie. And it's like one of those things where it's just like, it's like, every so often you hear about, like, really, to make a movie of that now? But I'm going to say one of the weirder things happened back in the 96, and that was the fucking Space Jam. And on top of that, I remember the first thing, I was almost kind of like double-taked and kind of a little tricked about it, because I want to say my parents rented a movie from Blockbuster. Mm-hmm. This is where I first found out about Space Jam. And it was Twister. I want to say it was Twister.
Ooh, good movie. Saw that in theaters that same year, too.
Want to say it was Twister, and then I'm like, Bugs Bunny? Like, wait. And I was just kind of double taken because I was just so thrown off, like trying to piece it together, like a movie where the Looney Tunes are playing basketball with Michael Jordan. And I was just trying to piece the whole thing together, and because that's also when this is just a weird combination of things, because Looney Tunes, even though we kind of already knew about them as kids, they kind of came back in a big bad way because they started playing them on Nickelodeon and maybe Cartoon Network all the time.
Well, I used to watch Looney Tunes because I didn't have Nickelodeon at the time period, and I watched them on, what the fuck? They did come on something else beforehand, because when time... No, yeah, I didn't have WB yet either, because WB was like a kind of a special channel too. Because they came on, I want to say they played them along with like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs and that kind of wave. They would come on stuff, and you would see them there. You know, it would be like one of those ones, maybe they ran that block on like Fox Kids, and then they whipped in some like Looney Tunes or so on. It's like, because I'm trying to think of like the main way, because like I know that, like, I watched these all throughout other stuff beforehand, but it's like, that was, like, what I'm thinking. I know, obviously, yeah, once it came on, I think they did put them on Cartoon Network, and for some reason, they were on, like, everything, so it did kind of blow up from there. But I want to say when Tiny Toons and all that stuff out, that's when it kind of, like, they were also showing them. I could be kind of wrong. Maybe I just got, like, on those VHS tapes you'd, like, buy at the store for, like, a couple bucks, and, like, here's a bunch of old favorite cartoon shows that have no copyright anymore.
Well, I had some of those. Yeah, I definitely had a couple of those. Because this was one of those points where Looney Tunes, where parents are saying, like, oh, I grew up watching this shit. I'm going to show this to the kid. Like, one of the few cartoons your parents might watch with you, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's what Looney Tunes was for my dad. Because my dad, he didn't like any of the things I was really watching, but he liked Looney Tunes. He'd watch that with me. He didn't want to see Space Jam, because he knew there was a time and place. And he was even all kind of like, God, what was the name of the guy who did most of the voices of the characters back in the day?
Mel Blanc?
Mel Blanc, he was all like, want to go see Space Jam? I'm like, it's not Mel Blanc, won't be the same. So, and I was surprised because he's not one of those guys who's like an inside baseball kind of guy when it comes to like animation or movies or anything. But he knew. I remember there was a time where we were walking through a Warner Brothers store and there was this illustration of all the bunch of Looney Tunes characters looking all sad and looking depressed, staring at like a sketchboard, and it says "for," and it was like name, and he says like, oh, that was one of the key character designers, or that was one of the key animators,
Chuck Jones or somebody like that.
It may have been Chuck Jones. I don't think it was Tex Avery. It may have been Chuck Jones. It was like one of the big guys. And I was a little kid. Like, I was kind of surprised he knew that, because he never showed a whole lot of interest in like movie. I mean, he liked movies, but you know, he never really looked at, he was never came across as someone who looked deep into how movies were made, or television for that matter. He was always more sports, but and music. But that being said, this movie, when it was coming out, it was fucking huge. I remember going into like a big theater, and like now you'll see a couple character posters. Say like Avengers coming out, they'll have like a badass poster of Captain America, a badass poster of Iron Man, Thor, maybe Hawkeye, maybe. And then there was one of just like, it was all red. It was a black silhouette of like Tasmanian Devil. It's like, Taz is ready to jam. There's like, Bugs is ready to jam. Michael Jordan is ready to jam. Like, what the fuck is this?
Well, this movie was so big that, like, because this movie came out literally on my birthday in 1996, and that was like, so it's like, that was my birthday party. We're gonna go see Space Jam. We're gonna go to Round Table Pizza afterwards. We're gonna play video games. It's gonna be amazing. You know what I mean? And Space Jam opening day was so crowded that we literally had to sit on the floor. That's how many people there were there. And I always like think about that. Like, could you imagine a movie theater this day and age being like, yeah, we can make room. Come on, keep selling some more tickets. Gotta sit there on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, nowadays, no way. That is such a fire hazard lawsuit waiting to happen. But I've been to a few movies in my time where, like, they're like, yep, go sit on the floor. There's enough space. You'll figure out a place over there.
Yeah, kids back, if your kid wouldn't give a shit, now you'd be like, really? It's like a 2.5 hour movie, but now it's just one of those, back when you're a kid, they're like, shit,
I was gonna say, you want to know, because Space Jam's only like an hour and a half, but here's the one movie I had to also watch on the floor, was Gangs of New York. Talking about
that movie's like, I think 3 hours long, or at least 2:45.
Yeah, talking about having the long movie to sit on the floor.
Fuck. Yeah, this movie, well, it's so weird, because when the movie opens up, I like to imagine, truth be told, Space Jam was one of those things where it was huge when it came out, and then it just fucking disappeared. And I'm going to say, probably as far back as, like, I'm going to say 3 to 5 years ago, it suddenly became this thing where it was like, dude, you remember that shit? Oh, fuck, Space Jam! And then you see a bunch of, like, you know, merchandising from it popping up. You suddenly see a lot of Toon Squad jerseys and t-shirts popping back up, and people referencing all the time. And I suddenly saw a big slew of Space Jam retrospects and just conversations when I haven't heard about it. Well, before, it'd be like this really random thing, like, how the fuck did this thing get made? Because I like to, because, you know, back when we saw it, even at a time where internet wasn't that big, it was impossible not to really know about this movie. So I'd like to imagine someone going to this movie totally blind for the first 10 minutes and try to piece what the fuck was going on or what they were in for. Because this movie it's like really like 4 or 5 different movies within the first 10 minutes.
Well, it really does. It's got a lot going on, and I just like that one time we were watching it on, like, we were at, like, a hotel when we were watching Space Jam, and we started just making the joke. Just picture, like, an old man just kind of, like, showing up, like, oh, I guess I'll go to the movie theater to kill a couple hours. Well, why not? Oh, what's it? Space Jam, huh? Well, what's that movie? Oh, it's a basketball movie. Oh, okay, I'll go watch that. I like basketball. It's the 90s. And then he starts stumbling into the theater, not knowing anything about this movie whatsoever, and just sits down. It's just like, okay, I hear it's got the Michael Jordan fella in it. He's a real good ball player. Just saying. I mean, you probably already knew that. Like, sure, would you just shut the fuck up and watch the movie? Yeah, okay.
Just saying, there's some 8-year-old kid sitting next to him.
And then
with a fucking Tasmanian, like a Tasmania the Show t-shirt on.
So it's just got like the dad holding a glass of OJ on it or something like that. I remember as a kid watching the Tasmania show, and he'd always refer to OJ. And as a kid, I'm going like, OJ Simpson? Is that who he's referring to? Like, who else would he be talking about? Who else has the name OJ? Oh, orange juice. Oh, it all starts to make sense.
Well, that's when they were also trying to do like a... Well, that's why they called him the juice. But that was one of those things. Well, that was my thing for a long time too, because I'd always just hear OJ in the '90s had a whole other meaning.
As a kid, it was like, yeah, it was like next thing you know, it's like OJ. Is that the new president? Like, you heard that name so often, and like that was all you started thinking of.
It was just, it's what was I gonna say? Jesus, it was like that show, I remember like not being into the show. It was like, can we just have Taz? Can we lose the fucking family? I don't care about everybody else. Because he was like the one, like, he was like the like crackhead of the family. Like, I feel like they could have had like that show Intervention. Like, like, Taz, you keep on just losing your shit and spinning in a circle and destroying everything. We need you to get off this sauce, whatever it is. This is every time we try to bring this up to him.
It was really like, it was totally like the ultimate 90s kid, and then just like the most kickback family that somehow I was just like accepted. Like, well, that's my son over there. He's got maybe his own problems, but I like to let him be and do his own thing. You know what I mean? Just slurp the glass of OJ, put a little bit of vodka. And that's probably what's happening. The dad's just probably all fucking drinking all day long, fucking vodka and OJ, and then just like watching his son fucking like...
Dad was sauced up. That's the thing. Dad was just like...
He's wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt and everything like that. He's like, shit, I'm on vacation every day of the week.
Every day's vacation in Tasmania, I tell you what. Hey, Dad, I just got this final notice in the mail. Well, what's this mean? Like, don't you worry about it. You just have some OJ. It tastes pretty bitter. Just drink more of it. Don't question.
That's when you know
it's what
good.
I do. Don't worry, if shit goes down, we got Taz.
Yeah, we got Taz. You know what? If I really have to do it, I just call him my boy and just say, you go fuck somebody up, kid.
Why do you think the IRS haven't found us yet? Let me tell you what.
Shit, they ain't coming to Tasmania.
I like to see those cocksuckers try.
Yeah. We're down we're down under of down under.
So Space Jam.
Space Jam.
So, because of the opening, it's just so fucking... so the opening is just so, like, it opens up, and it seems like you could be watching the Michael Jordan biopic. Well, for a split second, it almost has a slice of whimsy to it, because, it's all playing R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly, and you see a little shooting star go across the sky.
It's a magic moment for a kid.
Playing. Yeah, and it's just one of these things, and his dad's like, boy, what you doing out here playing that basketball? And then he's just like, go and shoot till you miss, and keeps on playing. He's just laying out everything he wants to do. Like, I want to play for North Carolina, then join the NBA, and da-da-da. Like, all right, then...
Play professional baseball, just like you, Dad.
Baseball, now that's a sport.
That's a sport,
I can only say
unlike
this
the sport you're playing right now. Just the most hateful dad ever, just like, bunch of faggot sporting, that's what this is. 70s dad.
Real man swings a bat.
Yeah, he doesn't wear little girly shorts out there running around with his junk hanging out.
Don't be that, son. Don't be that, Michael.
So I know they like to call a basketball uniform a uniform, but it ain't a fucking uniform. That's a pair of pajamas,
it's an outfit.
son.
It's an outfit. You know who likes outfits, right, boy?
Just out there. Hey, son, where's that OJ at?
So y'all can be rubbing elbows and bare shoulders together while you're all sweating and whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's that all southern, but anyway. So he's just playing it for a while, and then all of a sudden we go to the opening credits thing, and it's not. And as he goes for the jump, it's just like Michael Jordan, Bugs Bunny. Like, double take. Wait, what?
The guy sits back in his chair in the movie theater, like, what? I don't know, maybe, maybe it's a rapper or something. You know how they like to have those goofy names and everything? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
maybe
Bugs
they
Bunny's
throw
just a rapper, he's like Bugsy Malone, but he's also a buddy.
Bugsy Malone. He could have been anything he wanted to be, but he went into crime.
He's trying to, justify this, okay, it's not making sense. Let's just assume this guy never saw a Warner Brothers cartoon somehow or some way.
Fucking Bugsy Malone. Google that.
So he's just kind of going on like, oh, okay, I get it. This is the origin story. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a biopic on Michael Jordan's life, played by Michael Jordan.
Huh. And some rapper named Bugs Bunny. Maybe there's meant to be a Z in there, but they forgot to fix it. All right.
And maybe that's Scottie Pippen's real name. I don't know.
And then they have the, and then they have the the title, like Space Jam pops up, and it looks like. Okay, and then just has this, welcome to the jam, welcome to the... It's just the most 90s,
Get up
like,
and
fucking...
Jam, and welcome to the slam. Batman's gonna jam. It just almost sounds like a drunk Batman song.
It does. Well, almost, it sounds like they're all coked out. It seems like, kind of an answer to, like, what song is really popular right now? That Mortal Kombat shit.
Yeah. Well, this soundtrack to this movie was pure amazing. I had it on cassette. I mean, I listened to, the living daylights out of this thing.
This soundtrack was the first soundtrack I ever bought with my own money. And it was, this was the soundtrack on it, because, it opens up with, a lot of these bands I didn't go on to listen to a whole lot, but opens up with R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly, which I want to say,
that's a great
Dave
song.
Dave Chappelle's,
that is a good song.
Dave Chappelle's newest stand-up routine, or on Netflix, where he's just like, after hearing what R. Kelly did, it really, if you watch I Believe I Can Fly to his piss fetish video, it leaves you with real conflicting notions. I used to believe that I could not go on. He's all like pantomiming pissing. But, so then, and then all of a sudden we just cut to Michael Jordan after this, this opening credits, and then we get to him just doing a press conference. He's like, I've conquered everything in the world except baseball. I am quitting basketball right now to go do baseball. And he actually did do this back then. Remember, that was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then this oh, okay, so I guess maybe we're going to flash back to the rest of his childhood and move forward to how he got to this point. But then rather than flashing back, it just keeps on going up and up into space, keeps on going by, then goes by a couple of planets, then all of a sudden you see a fucking spaceship go by, and then it comes to a big planet with a neon sign that says Moron Mountain, and suddenly everything's cartoon. There's a guy, voiced by Danny DeVito, named, I think, Schwackhammer or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And he's all like, we need new attractions! What? Some stupid little one-eyed piece of shit is complaining about our fucking theme park? We gotta reroute it all. What do we need? How about we get the Looney Tunes? That's a perfect fucking idea!
I like how, the kid's complaining is, the stereotypical 90s kid. He's got, arms crossed, backwards baseball cap on, a little bit of hair sticking out. Come on, Dad, this place is fucking stupid.
Shirt too long.
Yeah, just a baggy shirt and everything.
And he's obviously a white kid. Even though he's an alien, he's obviously a white kid.
he definitely is.
Don't bring me Don't bring me here anymore, right? Don't bring me here anymore, right? Because they replay it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
He's watching on the video.
Mom's house is so much better. So much better. Dave is my new dad. Dave, my new dad. New dad. Dad, new dad. Just keeps playing it over his father's head no! It'd be funny if it just pans out slowly. It just shows the Danny DeVito guy just rewinding it
That guy guy's like fucking sucks and I got his fucking money.
Here, kind of edit this together and put it as one of our new marketing campaign commercials.
So then, like, you know, there's these couple colorful aliens, and they're all sitting around like, yeah, you're right, we do got to get into a track, or like they just follow along with it, like, okay, we'll go get the Looney Tunes.
And they got like insulting, like, they're called like nerd looks or something like that. They don't say in the movie.
Is that their names?
But that's what they're called. Like, cause, well, everything about that place is very. So it's called Moron Mountain and the nerd looks, and like, they just got these weird like. I don't know, it's just like kind of like those ones I feel it's just like a bunch of, but that's kind of 90s when you think about it, because the 90s is all about like insulting people and putting other people down and making sure that you picked your right side and so on. And it was like almost very accepted.
All edgy.
That was very acceptable behavior in the 90s. I do not know why that is, but I feel like it is not a good thing. Like, that was like a terrible, terrible way it was, but that's how things were. It's all about putting other people down, making sure you had the right side, and putting down the other guy. It's like that is not teaching like the greatest values when you think about it.
Well, a lot of them were also voiced by ladies. It was pretty obvious. There's I'm trying to think of what all their names were. I remember I had like a stuffed animal of one or two of those things because this movie was fucking huge when it came out. But there was Pounds, Blanco, Bang, Bupkis, and then Nwat.
Yeah.
So all these really weird names, yeah.
Which I feel like they say them like once in the movie or something like that. It's like
I don't even think they say their names.
Maybe they don't even say their names. But
So then it just jumps to Michael Jordan's home life, and it's weird because all the stuff like where it's Michael Jordan's home life or his realistic life, it seems like a much more toned down comedy. Like, it's still a comedy, but it seems a little bit more toned down. And it's getting across how he's Michael Jordan. Everybody's nice to him. So even when he's playing out there in baseball, the catcher for the other team is trying to give him hints and trying to help him out, like low ball, you know, aim low. He's gonna do a curveball, just a swing, you know.
Yeah. He's like, thanks for signing my kid's basketball. I'm a real hero now at the house, you know. And it's just like you can see Michael Jordan just get to the point where it's like, since it's Michael Jordan, everybody's just like buttering up to him. But it's like, no, let's just play the sport like normally and don't need to like try to cheat for me. And like everybody seems to be okay with it. Like when Michael Jordan strikes out, like the whole team's like, that's okay, Michael, you'll get him next time. It's like almost like super optimistic, like he's at T-ball or something like that.
And then there's one guy who's like, yeah, man, you look good when you strike out. When I strike out, man, I look fucking bad, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good looking strikeout.
And then he gets home and fucking Jim Rome is talking shit, which can you really talk shit after you get your ass kicked on television? So I'm just gonna say that. But anyway, Jim Rome is sitting there like, Michael, who knows, maybe he changed. That was a long time ago, but it's still like a funny thing. You ever see that video of Jim Rome about to get his ass kicked on his own show?
No, I never have. Sounds amazing.
There was some basketball, I think it was I think there was some like football player who had the same last name as some female tennis player. And he kept on calling him Chris, where the girl's name was Chris. And he kept on just saying that, and he just had this full smile saying, hey man, you keep on calling me Chris, and you've been calling me that for a while. I know you're doing it to mess with me. And since I'm here, I don't think you're going to say it. Well, it's a long interview. We got a couple ways to go. It might slip out a few times. Well, while I'm here, I don't think it's going to happen. Oh, I guess we'll find out. Chris, and all of a sudden he just rips the mic out. Sound cuts. He like flips him over, and then like you see like a PA run over, try and pull him off, just cuts.
That's awesome.
It's like, yeah. Ever since then, I'm like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's the same thing as a critic. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, here's somebody who's just bitching about somebody else's performance, but it's like, what did you fucking do? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You didn't fucking like play that sport. You weren't out there. You didn't make that fucking movie. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like, where's your fucking say in this? You don't have any stake in it. Of course you can talk smack.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, fuck that dude.
Yeah,
anyway,
fuck that guy on his TV and like, okay, I'll add this. Okay, when they show Michael Jordan's house, I really feel like they're really trying to make Michael Jordan feel like just part of the neighborhood. Like, he has a nice house, but he just feels like high middle class. Not like what Michael Jordan is like, probably goes home to like fucking like Neverland Ranch and fucking like is shooting hoops with Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly is not living in some like, you know, somewhat well-off neighborhood, but like, you know, he's got a house like he's just like, a regular lawyer, or,
He's taking a golf course around, and that'd be a golf cart around his house, probably.
Exactly, you know what I mean? Like,
plated in gold, has like Diamond 23 along the back.
Yeah, he's got like a 25-inch TV in his house, if that even. Like, I was like, there is no way that, like, this. I mean, I know what they're trying to do, because they try to make. I want to say that they really want to make Michael Jordan feel like, he's just like you, except for he's totally awesome at basketball. But other than that, though, he's just like you. A little bit successful. You can kind of get there, like, almost make it feel like it's sort of achievable. You know what I mean? In this movie, bringing Michael Jordan kind of down to earth, when I just feel like it's probably like not like that at all.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like the superstar celebrity of celebrities. You know what I mean?
Especially back when this came out. Yeah, he was like the biggest celebrity probably at the time.
It's kind of cool though. I want to say this because I just watched this movie on big screen again. Because I was like, that was my version of doing that. I was like, oh, we gotta do a retrospective. Like, they just put Space Jam back in theaters, and it's like the idea of it being in theaters is like one of those ones where it's like, I don't know when this will ever be in theaters again. It's not like Raiders of the Lost Ark or Jaws or something like that will come back around, or Back to the Future. This feels like one of those ones. It's like, it's gonna be in theaters, and then probably won't be in theaters for a very, very long time, if that even. So I'm like, I gotta see it. You know what I mean? That's important. But it's funny because like these are always the nice thing about watching movies in cinemas again. When I was looking at Michael Jordan's house over there, it's like, I mean, these are all Warner Brothers movies, but it's like, dude, he's got a copy of Batman Returns right there on his coffee table. I'm like, that's awesome.
They're probably like, what do we got in stock we're not going to see it for? Batman, fucking some Clint Eastwood movies, Wild Bunch. Oh, here we go.
Here we go, yeah.
Yeah. Just Lethal Weapon. Was that Warner Brothers? Lethal Weapon?
I think it is.
I imagine they did a lot of the buddy cop movies. They pushed a lot of the cop movies forward, so I imagine so. But anyway, so, and his kid, his wife, is like, oh, it's okay. You just got to get out there and keep on doing what you're doing. But then from there, it just goes like, I don't even know why we're actually kind of breaking the movie down beat for beat. Because I'm going to assume, you know what? Everyone listening to this has probably seen the movie.
Well, we can't assume that everybody's seen it. That's always speculation. I feel that's a little much. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be some youngsters out there that might not have gotten, like, keen to this film yet. You know what I mean?
Well, I get what you're saying. It's just one of those things.
Now,
just
also,
feels like,
if you're like the exact
so then
same
the
age
guy in
as
the black outfit, ends up being his father. So he cuts his fucking arm off.
Yeah, that's actually big. I will say this though, it's like one of those, if you're our age and you haven't seen it, that's fucking weird. Like I always be like, where the fuck were you? You know what I mean? Like
everyone's like your Kennedy assassination. Everyone knows where they were when they saw Space Jam.
I can reminisce like my Space Jam viewing back in 1996 like it was yesterday, because I just remember exactly what we did. It's like, sat in the aisle. All my buddies were there at the time. We were watching the movie, and then we went down to Round Table Pizza and everything like that. We were playing fucking Maximum Force because it was like the new arcade that they got down there. And it was like, oh my god, this is so awesome and so violent. You know what I mean? There was one of those Super Nintendo arcade ones that had Super Mario World and F-Zero on it. And it was that weird thing you put a quarter in and it gave you like 120 seconds or something like that. But it was like a regular Super Nintendo game.
I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, those are fucking weird. So it's like, I remember this like really well. I may remember some of the gifts I got. Like I remember I got like this like model car. And then I got like one of those like mini keyboards, that had all the sounds on it and everything like that. Like, that day was a big, important day. It's just like Space Jam, like, you knew where you were, damn it. And shit, even just seeing it again in theaters, that was the most packed of any of the classic cinema movies I've ever seen. There was more people at the Space Jam one than Godfather, Back to the Future, Alien, what have you.
Well, I mean, thinking
definitely
about
more
that,
than the Sabrina one, because nobody fucking showed up to that.
You were the only ones in the theater for that one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say those right there was something Godfather. I could see someone saying, like, oh, Godfather has violence, it's bloody, I don't want to see a dead horse's head inside of someone's old man's bed or whatever.
Rah,
so
rah, rah.
Or like Alien, it's just like, Alien's scary, I don't want to see scary. Well, what's your thing about Space Jam? What's your thing about Space Jam? I don't like Looney Tunes, I don't know. But it's one of those things.
It's one of those Disney people, isn't it? Oh, I see how it is.
Your kind's not welcomed here. No, but what was I gonna say? So all right, short and simple of it. We don't gotta go into like scene for scene because it's a pretty straightforward movie. But he ends up being like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Wayne Knight is introduced to him. And Wayne Knight is essentially just trying so hard. He just wants someone to love him. He's just like, I'll do anything for you, Michael. I'll babysit your kids. I'll fix your car. I'll do like way more than a publicist
massage your wife.
should do. Yeah.
He's just like pauses. Just like doesn't blink, stare.
Wide-eyed. Waiting for his response.
I'll masturbate your dog. You know that dog's played by Frank Welker?
What?
You know that dog of Michael Jordan's is played by Frank Welker?
Really?
Yeah. I thought that, and Frank Welker, for anybody who doesn't know, he does a bunch of like animal voices, but this is the fact that I think is more amazing than anything else. He's the guy who's always played Fred in Scooby-Doo since 1969 and still plays him today.
Well, that's the thing right there, but I mean, I'm surprised the name was ring a bell, but I wasn't clicking really who. Like, because what was he really got to do? I imagine for that you just have to find dog noises, but you just go. Rawr! I couldn't even tell that was a guy going like. Rawr, rawr. I couldn't even tell.
That's how good he is.
Well, he deserved an Oscar for this shit. He got really snubbed.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you realize that wasn't even a real fucking dog? What? No. I thought they took dog sound effects. No, that was fucking Fred from Scooby.
What? Get the fuck out.
Oh man, the theater is just like, oh yeah, you didn't know that? Oh,
shit,
I know
you didn't know old Frank, He used to do voices down the street. Just like, you and your Tasmanian Devil t-shirt, should get a fucking education, boy.
Oh, look at that. Foghorn Leghorn's on the screen now.
Yeah, someone I can relate to. That's like one of my favorite Looney Tunes characters, though, is Foghorn Leghorn.
I'm pretty sure if there is... I don't want to take... I'm not sure if... It's one of those things, like I'm not sure if I heard this somewhere, or if I just have a fucked up sense of humor, but I thought I was gonna say like maybe it was Peanut Black. Like this, they had like a sketch of like Foghorn Leghorn as a Klan member. I'm not sure. I don't want to throw those guys under the bus. I want to say like where the fuck did I hear that? I think it may have been those guys that I was laughing of like I was just dying of laughter. Like boy, I say boy, what you doing there? Like that can go a real wrong way this day and age. Just common things he says.
Well, because it's just like he just has the ultimate like southern like drawl kind of accent going on. There's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, nowadays
no, but just the boy. He drops a lot of boy. He drops a lot of boys around a lot.
Yeah, it's
like careful where you swing that one around.
It's weird how you can't say boy anymore because that doesn't really mean like I mean.
I know it doesn't mean that.
It means anybody who's technically like a boy, but
younger than you, or you're acknowledging like, boy, get your ass on over here. And I get that. I'm not trying to be all like PC here or anything. It's just one of those things like, I want to say it may have been like even like a Robot Chicken sketch where he said something like, boy, like it was like a black guy, like, what the fuck did you say to me? Like, I said nothing, boy. Like,
well, I say, sir, son.
Something like that. But no, what was I going off on? Yeah, so then the aliens come down, they threaten to enslave the Looney Tunes. And they're just kind of short, and they're really easy to outsmart. They just, like, the scenes I actually like a lot are actually the scenes where it's just kind of Looney Tunes interacting, because the thing about watching it as a kid is you just gotta watch them as like, alright, here's a sketch. For some reason, they're back in the medieval ages. Or this one, it's just Elmer Fudd chasing after Bugs Bunny. And this one, it was almost kind of interesting because you got to see them act casual around each other. So you got to see a bunch of them all on screen at once, kind of planning it out. Like, all right, so what do we got here? And you got to see like Daffy Duck, Sylvester, Elmer Fudd, Porky Pig, Bugs, and I'm not sure, maybe another one in there. And they're all just kind of plotting together of how to do this thing. And it's just one of those things. It's not like, oh, it's like a Quentin Tarantino scene or anything. But I mean, it's one of those things where you just, at that time, you really weren't used to seeing them all interact together at once like that. And also, a lot of times, oh, these guys would be trying to kill each other right here. So to see them all kind of like working together was kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, it's almost like, I like the way they kind of do it. It's almost like, yeah, that, making those shorts, that was like a job, you know what I mean? That was like what we did. Mm-hmm. And then now it's just like, this is us just hanging out in our town and so on. This is like where all our work buddies hang out at. And this is the thing, is like, there wasn't a Looney Tunes movie ever before this, right? Like a feature length?
Not a feature-length movie, just those animated shorts that went to theaters and all that.
Yeah, I mean that's not a movie though. I mean like a
Yeah, no, not a feature-length feature. No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So that's also the other impressive thing about Space Jam is it's the first.
Actually, you know what? I think there was one kind of, but all it was is it was a re-release. I want to say it came out somewhere in the 80s, and they brought like a big collection of all their shorts and brought them together and presented them as an anthology. I think that was a movie. I think.
Oh, okay, well that doesn't count because that's just putting shorts together. I was talking about like,
I know,
from
but
start to finish.
It did get like a re-release. It did get a re-release, but as far as just something exclusively made just for the theaters, I think this is the first one.
Yeah, and like start to finish storyline, not an anthology or anything like that. So because that's almost like a big deal in itself too, and it's kind of weird when you think about it. It's like that Warner Brothers never jumped on the bandwagon of like making animated movies like that back in the day, especially when they were like super popular and everything like that.
Well, it's interesting. There's a bunch of stuff they were at one point in time. They're going to make like an animated John Carter movie, and that's one of the things that kind of one of the ups and downs that whole like Princess of Mars thing had. For a minute, that was going to get made back in the '80s, and they're going to make it all like intense and serious. I'm like, no, they're not ready for it yet.
And Warner Brothers had that at that time period.
It was somewhere in the 70s or 80s. They were going to make a John Carter of Mars movie.
See, because that could probably be cool. Because that'd probably be like Flash Gordon or something like that. You know what I mean? Like if you make John Carpenter. John Carpenter of Mars. John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars, but I mean John Carter of Mars, like in The Princess of Mars. That would have been a sick like kind of movie if it had that Flash Gordon look. Okay, it's like here's the thing. I like the John Carter movie that came out. I mean, it's not amazing, but like I would love to see more of that because I like that kind of old timey like 20s, 30s, things that are in like the Tarzan kind of category, John Carter, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, like that stuff's always really cool. And I know it's kind of hard to sell because it's like, you got like Dynamite Comics that makes all those things like that. And I always just feel like when you look at the Dynamite Comics brand, it sounds so weird to say it like this, but it reminds me, it's comic books that are literally made for like your grandpa / great grandpa. Like that's like almost their target audience is dead, but you know what I mean?
When they do have a Man with No Name comic and a Lone Ranger comic, yeah.
Because that's breaching. They're like, oh, we're trying something new and hip. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because a lot of their stuff in there is all like, Zorro comics and so on like that. And they're always fantastic. Like that Dynamite company always just makes great things. And it's not they'll do some like movie kind of adaptations. I want to say they did the Total Recall sequel on there. And I want to say, then sometimes they'll have like Red Sonja and things like that. But that's even kind of old by now at this point too. But that's what I was thinking about. Like that's a comic book company that literally their target audience isn't even alive anymore.
Well, they're getting by, so there's enough people to like it, so that's good.
I think there's enough people like myself and so on that dig that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as far as Warner Brothers doing like animated stuff, they never really you could look long enough, you could find them. I mean, I want to say even before Space Jam, they had Cats Don't Sing or something like that, which was trying to do that whole Disney song and dance kind of thing, but more of a Warner Brothers kind of style. Yeah, this one right here. So as it goes on, they kind of like, all right, well, we're going to fuck them over. They're stupid, they're short, they're small, they can't play basketball. So they end up going, all the aliens are, all right, we're just going to steal some of the abilities. Well, actually, first off, they say to him, like, all right, well, it's just the rules. What's the rules? You got to beat us in a game of something if you want to enslave us. Like, well, what says it? In this thing I just wrote down. Like, oh, okay. They're just easily tricked. So they go and steal a bunch of basketball players' abilities, but the thing about that is like that scene, there's like so much. I'm guessing it was intentional because they're all doing the whole like kids trying to sneak into an R-rated movie thing where there's like all these aliens are in a trench coat flopping around through a crowd, and it just plops down next to this lady. He's all shifting around
from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Like, yeah,
bringing it back around. It's the
wife.
Is
that the lady was?
Uh-huh.
That's the wife from Everybody Loves Raymond.
And she's also in the middle, and then next to it's Dan Castaneda. So you got Homer Simpson and Ray Romano's wife. Well, in the TV show.
He's like, Marge, shut the fuck up! Well, I didn't even realize that was Homer Simpson, yeah.
You know what's the weird thing, though? Is he almost kind of looks like Homer Simpson. I mean, he's skinnier, but he's got like the same haircut and everything just about.
He's bald, yeah. And he's just, the thing is, he's all shuffling. They're all shuffling in the fucking suit to get, like, to churn into liquid and go and invade the bodies of the basketball players. And the thing is, like, he says, like, honey, like, what is it? Like, this guy in his trench coat's jerking off next to me. Barkley's killing us. Shut the fuck up. And he doesn't seem all that worried. Like, there's a weird guy in a trench coat next to me. He's like, I don't fucking care.
He's got a basketball fetish.
Do you have any idea how much these tickets cost me? And she's like, can't you get better seats next year? It's just like, you're on the fucking floor.
Yeah. It's like, where else you gonna be sitting, like, in court? Like,
the
right
only
there
better seat
is being a referee.
Or is like being Jack Nicholson at a Lakers game where you're allowed on the bench with the team. That's the only better seat.
Because you're almost like an honorary mascot.
Just change the Lakers to the Nicholsons. Just have his face with the sunglasses like grinning. Just like a big like mascot of his head out there, just dancing around.
You know, probably Jack Nicholson, if he could have it just be like his own team, he probably would.
I'm gonna say it's his team. Fucking, I don't watch basketball or anything. I'm gonna say, just give it to him. From the guy who has nothing in it at all, who has nothing to gain or lose. Just like, just give it to Jack Nicholson. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, why not? You know what I mean? Might make Spike Lee a little bit angry that he wasn't the chosen one, but still, Jack Nicholson's been there longer.
Oh shit!
He's been there.
Expect documentary if they chose Jack Nicholson over Spike Lee.
I know. If he was ones that like be seniority, that's all I gotta say. How he's like 30-something plus years older than you, so
yeah, he's been there.
I mean, there's even a basketball game once. It was like a Spike Lee joint. I'm like, for an NBA game, is there gonna be like story mode or something in it? Like, what's going on here?
Some point, the fucking ref comes out, throws a trash can through like into the audience. He's all like, Rosa like, rage, and throws it out there.
Just like on the audience, like, she.
Isn't that what happens at the end of Do the Right Thing? He's all like, rage, and he throws it through the window.
Pretty much we're like, they're just like, let's destroy this poor Italian man's business. Fuck him.
That's what it was.
That's one of those movies I still to this day like. I like a lot of Spike Lee movies, but that movie I feel like it has like. Maybe for the time if you were in that area, but I feel like it's like a bad message kind of movie. It's like one of those ones like, no. You do not solve problems like that by destroying other people's businesses. That just makes you look like the asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I don't remember, but I remember having that kind of feeling about it. I gotta maybe watch it again. It's been a long time. Maybe there's something I missed. But
it was a very hateful, like, if you're Italian, you probably were very like, what's wrong with Italian? Hey, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what that movie feels like. It just feels like I really hate Italian people movie.
Well, even if you don't like the guy, even if you don't like the guy, or you think the guy's an asshole, just go to a different pizza joint. That's all I say. But
yeah, shit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm assuming like. You know, in a small town, we have multiple pizza joints. I'm assuming in a city, there is even more pizza joints. You know, you don't have to go to the one place and just bother this poor guy day in, day out.
Yeah, I gotta see the movie again before I can really say a whole lot. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but, yeah, but it's one of those things where I still like a lot of his movies.
Well, I love Spike Lee stuff, and that was one of those movies I'm like, oh, dude, I'm gonna so like this. And that was one of those movies where I just kind of walked out like very frustrated, like, oh, it's like almost like I'd say like reverse racism kind of movie. It's just like, oh, God, it must suck to be Italian in the 80s. Shit, like God, it was all going uphill for them in the 70s, and all of a sudden we get to the 80s, and then God, nobody wants you to be around your town anymore.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I gotta check it out again. But as far as where we're at, oh yeah, so Space Jam. This also introduced me to Charles Barkley. I forget a lot of other people. Scottie Pippen I knew of.
Well, Scottie Pippen's
but a bunch
not
of
in
the
movie.
other. That's not Scottie Pippen? Who is that?
No, it's not Scottie Pippen. It's
who's the short ass guy? Scottie Pippen was the other short guy that I'm thinking of. Maybe I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Scottie Pippen was in the Bulls, but for some reason he didn't get the fucking card to show up here.
Yeah. No. Anyway, well, they get all their power stolen. They think that, or all their abilities stolen. They think there's some kind of virus going around attacking NBA players. And then one day, while playing golf with Bill Murray, and this is also
and
one of
Larry
those things,
Bird.
and Larry Bird. I feel like Michael Jordan. I don't really Michael Jordan. Bill Murray. I feel like they gave him a script. And he's just like, "That's cute," and brushed it aside because a lot of his lines are way more clever than a lot of other shit in the rest of the movie. Because he says he's just like, you are my friend, you're my tool, you're leaving. Like, not like whacks the ball. And at some point he's talking to Michael. He's like, why don't I have a shot? Why don't I have a shot? And he's like, come on, man, just not your time. You don't have a chance. He's all like, it's because I'm white, isn't it? He's like, Larry's white. No, Larry's not white. Larry's clear.
And like the Bill Murray thing came because he actually had a series of commercials where he was trying to get into an NBA and be a player. So it's like this all comes back around to being like commercials and so on. And then, like, when I always think about Larry Bird, I feel like that was the last, like, big white basketball player because you just never hear of it like anybody else past this point. It's just like Larry Bird was that last because, like, he was ginormous. Like in the 80s, you know what I mean? It would be like, like Jordan versus Bird. Like that was like the big competition and everything like that. I mean, they had video games out there where it's like, you don't play as anybody else but Michael Jordan and Larry Bird because nobody else matters in the NBA.
I'm just imagining JVB, like Batman v Superman almost style poster.
Yeah, that's almost what it was like. That would be kind of cool. But, no, I think like, I like that part of just like the Bill Murray and Larry Bird and all these guys just like hanging out and whatnot and just like it's almost that thing of like when I was looking at the Wikipedia article when it's just kind of like just like describing the plot, like if you did not know what the Looney Tunes was or anything like this and you just kind of read that, you'd be like, what the fuck movie is this that I'm like reading about?
Well, it's just a weird combination of shit. And then he just from there, Michael Boyd Jordan. What I do? Another thing about this movie is it's not like wait, what's going on? It's just like, oh, there's aliens. Oh, there's cartoons. Oh, I didn't know about that, but all right. Because it's like apparently the Looney Tunes live in hell because they live underground. So then when he gets dragged down there, and he's like, all right, guys, what's going on? It's just like you don't. The other thing is like the first thing Bugs does once he sees him, he's like, this isn't real, is it? He says like, you tell me, and like fucking lays a big fat fucking kiss on fucking Michael. I think it's pretty. I don't know, something reason like I'm surprised that because he'd always be dressing in drag and making out with like dudes like nearly every other episode. So I've got a feeling that that they were almost like Bugs Bunny was pretty like ahead of the times. No, I mean, back then that was a time where it was really shunned upon. It's like, oh, it's a rabbit, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Bugs does do some kind of weird shit, like always has, and so on. And it's for some reason it's been accepted. Like I don't know why.
It's just one of those things like, oh, he's not gay, he just likes to party.
I think that's it. It's like, we used to always catch Bugs hanging out with, David Bowie and Mick Jagger down at Studio 54.
They do a couple lines of coke, blow each other just to make the time pass by. It's not a big deal.
Shit. Then the Who guys would be sitting across the corner writing a book about it, like fucking freaks.
Pete Townsend. Acting as if, like, what are you writing down? Nothing. He'd munch on me cock like it was a carrot.
And be like, yeah, what's up, Doc?
You tell me. I think you know what's up.
Oh, wow, that's getting fucking weird. Pete Townsend just scribbling down, and Bugs Bunny whipped out his hard carrot. And Mick Jagger
the other one
said, boy, is that ribbed. It was Studio 54. Pete Townsend.
Well, didn't Pete Townsend write some shit like, Mick had the tastiest cock of them all, or some shit like that?
I didn't want to taste, but Mick wouldn't let me. He said, if I'm going to write something, write with this. And he slapped his cock in my hand.
Just splooged out.
So the Space Jam.
Use that for the ink. Yeah. So here's the thing. I'd like to imagine that somebody just like, I never heard about Space Jam. I know of Space Jam, but I never really listened to it. And I'm a younger person. Let me just put this on. This is like the thing. Half the time we're just fucking talking about rolling, like the fucking rock stars blowing each other. Fucking politically incorrect things of the times. But, so yeah. No, that Pete Townsend doesn't make it into this movie. But, or Mick Jagger or David Bowie, but I'm assuming Bugs Bunny just got back from doing some shit because he just flat out makes out with Michael Jordan. He's all like, "Oh, whatever, that was weird." And then he's just like, "What's going on, guys?" They're all just kind of tripping over each other, doing their own
like they've
different
hung out before or something like that.
And then he's just like, "All right, what's going on?" Like, "Well, we need your help, and they're all gonna come for us and this shit." And he's like, "All right, I'll just hang out." And then it just becomes a lot of them kind of training and getting ready. And then there's the scene where she's like, you guys got to go back and get my shit. It's just like, can't you really do it? Wouldn't it make more sense? But I get it. They probably want to have more of a, they probably need to give this movie more of a sense of like, oh, let's change up the scenery and the pace. So Bugs and Daffy have to go back to Michael's house to get his shit. And I like the part when like they peek into the, like, this is another one of those scenes, like their interactions together. I mean, that was kind of like the classic duo a lot of times, Bugs and Daffy. But when they're just hanging out together and talking shit back and forth,
yeah,
it's one of those things like, oh, this is kind of where this movie really shines a lot. Not saying all humans in it are bad, but just kind of like those moments between the Looney Tunes. Not when they're just doing their shtick, but when they're just
hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that's like they made that TV show, and I never watched it, but like I remember, I think you described it to me, where it's kind of like Looney Tunes, but it was almost like treated like a sitcom. And I always felt like that premise sounds pure amazing. I don't know if it ever panned out to being as good as that sounds, but like that sounds like the best way to treat the Looney Tunes. It's almost like a sitcom, like just kind of them hanging out.
That's kind of, because I watched it with my nephews a couple of times, and it was, I don't know if it's still on, but it was they just all lived in the same town. Bugs and Daffy were roommates. Tasmanian Devil was more or less their pet. I want to say Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam were their neighbors. And they still had like
the dad shows up and be like, son, I thought you're going to art school or something like that, but now you're just these two stoner guys in their apartment's fucking pet. Like, what happened? Like, I thought slavery was done and you're their goddamn pet. You know, this is not the way I raised you. What are you, like their fucking gimp? What does the duck do to you at night, son? What does the duck do to you at night?
Blah, 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 blah. No, son, I don't want to hear that. I want you to talk to me like a man. Stand up on your two front legs and like a man and tell me what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. Don't you fucking say that. Don't you fucking say that. I never made you kill them. I never did. It was for the family!
We had to stop the IRS because they were coming for our tax evasion, son. Don't you understand?
You know what they would have done to your sister? They would have taken her child protective services. You fucking son of a bitch. You take that back. You don't mean it.
It's just like that one where it just cuts over the Bugs and Daffy like, yeah, let's get out of here. What do you say? Like, this is getting kind of weird.
Pete Townsend and Mick Jagger waiting for us in the glory hole.
Like, they just, like, pans over one more time and Pete Townsend's sitting on, like, the easy chair just writing shit down. I just love how Pete Townsend just, like, documents things like he's some scripter of the time.
Just imagine Mick Jagger, like, you never... I said, when I said if you suck my cock, you said you'd say... If anyone asked me, you say no. Like, well, you didn't believe me, did you? Yeah, I did. Well, that was your fault.
He's like, what do you think I was doing? I had a book here the whole time. I was writing everything down.
Well, you blew me.
Yeah, as you blew me, I was making notes, detailed ones at that. I even drew a picture of us together. Look, there's you blowing me, giving thumbs up.
So that doesn't happen in the movie. I'm just saying could have. I imagine there's a deleted scene somewhere. So
I think they really need to bring back the father character of Tasmanian Devil. I don't know. Like that guy's got to come back. I haven't seen him since the 90s.
Maybe if you just go back to that fight they have, like, maybe if you drink your goddamn OJ like a man, you wouldn't be here living on their fucking couch like a fucking bum. Blah, blah, blah. Fuck you. Blah, blah. No, fuck you. Like, the most hard to watch, like, father versus son argument.
Yeah, just like Oscar scene right here.
Just does a little, like, spin dash thing outside, makes it, like, you know, makes, like, a fucking body imprint out of the wall. I think he's gone for good this time. I think I finally did it. What have you done? What have you done, George? What have you done?
He looks over at Bucks and Daffy's like, well, I'm gonna drink this glass of OJ. Do you mind if I use your guys' window? Like, oh, well, what do you need the window for? Pete Townsend's over there writing notes down. Well, I think this just times like just starts opening the window like he's just gonna jump out of it.
But it's Looney Tune land, so he just turns flat and survives. just walks off like an accordion.
Yeah.
Suicide's got to be hard in fucking Looney Tune world, because even when you die, you just come back the next day with no explanation. Because there's multiple episodes where people just die, and they're just like, oh, look, he has angel wings, but he's back alive later or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, or this, you know, you could be like, after they come back, so I'll say, going back to the whole part where they go to get Michael Jordan's shit, they sneak into his kid's room. They look around, like, oh, look at all the fucking look at all the fucking toys she has.
Yeah,
They
Daffy
keep
Duck.
the fucking voice down. They just keep walking. Like, I was actually surprised they actually said this, because it's not really a curse word, but you still wasn't expecting like a cartoon, like one of the cartoon characters say this. Like Daffy says, like, you ever seen that merchandise money? Like, nah, not a dime. It's like, we gotta get new agents. We're getting screwed.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a ballsy like thing to say in a kid's cartoon. That's one of those ones, because I read somewhere that said this was the first animated movie to ever be edited for TV. I bet you like that was the line that was taken out.
That was probably the line. We're probably getting gypped. Probably change it to something like that.
So we're probably getting Jewed.
Gyps. Getting Jewed. That was the original line.
You can see Daffy Duck saying that probably.
Oh, Daffy Duck definitely would say that.
Daffy Duck's the guy who holds no bards when it comes to like what he says.
And then, like, the dog attacks him by Fred Welker.
Frank Welker.
Frank Welker attacks him. And then, like, the dog suddenly, and they make a Beethoven joke, because, it was the 90s.
Yeah.
And then the kids suddenly walk in, like, hey, Bugs, hey, Daffy, what are you doing? Well, we kidnapped your dad and forced him to play basketball to save us. But don't tell nobody. Okay, Bugs, keep it a secret. The Daffy's just like, last time I worked with fucking children!
Yeah.
He's
like, you better keep it a fucking secret or I'm gonna fucking kill you, little bastards. She's like, oh, Dad, come
I'll
here.
find you all! I know where you fucking live! And they fucking go back to the fucking golf hole where fucking Newman
I love when he's like just digging out this thing out there, and there's like this fat old guy watching. It's like, what are you fucking doing? What's going on? And then like, what is fucking Wayne Knight say?
Divot.
He's like, oh, I'm fixing a divot. And I like how the guy's like, oh, okay. He looks back at his buddy. He's like, he's fixing a divot. Oh, it makes perfect sense. Just like, he's all super pissy and everything. Then all of a sudden it just changes on a dime.
And then once they end up going back, he ends up... He sees them enter in through the golf hole. Like, that's just the most random thing, too. Like, where are they? Under, like, in hell? Under a fucking, like, golf course.
I also like, too, like, when, like, Michael Jordan just gets sucked into, like, the hole. Like, Larry Bird and Bill Murray are just totally like, yeah, you probably just want to get away from that Wayne Knight guy.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, they're not even worried whatsoever.
Did he just Super Mario warp pipe to the golf hole? Yeah, I think he did. Whatever, not a big deal. So then they go on, and they start doing like some basketball drills, and you see he's doing good. But for 1 minute, the Monstars come in, to the aliens now in their like giant badass basketball form, and suddenly they they crumple Michael Jordan up into a ball where he turns into Lawnmower Man, something from Lawnmower Man for a second.
Yeah,
and just that CG and that weird like that early CG, because the rest of this movie's all TD, but
actually
it's been a long fucking day.
All CG.
It kind of blends in. You can't even really tell that much.
Yeah,
they have kind of a cel shaded look to them, sort of, but when they do that early CG, when they crumple him together, and he just has like that fucking like terrified stare, like it's like just straight up nightmare fuel.
Yeah, just like jams him into the basketball court. And that's the part where they realize that like Michael Jordan's their only good player, so they're like, we need to get somebody else. And then Lola Bunny comes in.
Yeah, and they never really used... I mean, I want to say she popped in later Looney Tunes stuff, but she didn't really pop up a whole lot. Like, I think I saw her a few times.
I don't know why that character hasn't like appeared more often. Well, then again, there's not that much more Looney Tunes stuff, so I guess... Because Looney Tunes is kind of a dead genre. It's like, they made like the Looney Tunes Back in Action and that sitcom show, and... There's maybe one other movie or something like that, but that's about it.
Well, there's a period where they're trying to come back and do... we'll talk about this later, but there's a period where they're... trying to like give each Looney Tune character a movie kind of like an Avengers kind of thing, but they kind of backed out of that, and we'll talk about that later because that in itself is another conversation. But so moving this story forward, though, then they very simply just like, you know what? We just see the actually, I want to mention this part. We cut back to like the basketball players, and they're doing they're playing Basketball Jones by Barry White and Chris Rock over.
And whenever I think of that song too, there's also like I don't know if this is the original version of it, but on the Cheech and Chong, like I had this LP of Cheech and Chong. Oh God, I've drawn a blank on which one it was, but there's literally a Basketball Jones song on there, and I don't know if that's its initial origin or if it has like another origin. It's just been multiply covered, but it's literally Cheech singing Basketball Jones. It's fucking amazing.
Well, it says writers Thomas Chong and Richard Marin.
Oh yeah, there we go. So it is. So it is okay. That is the original version then. So if you ever get a chance, check out that version. It's literally like the album cover is like Cheech and Chong, and they're walking across a field in like cartoon form with a ginormous joint that's like the size of like a whale. What more would you expect for the cover? But
one second, that's my fault. Yeah, it's one of those things. Right now, kind of a weird internet situation, and I literally have my phone working as an internet hotspot right now because weird internet situation. So now,
and ironically, it actually works better than the internet you had before. It seems like.
Seems to, yeah, very much the case. So, anyway, going back to this for a minute. Yeah, but anyway, that word, it suddenly seems to become like a real like art house picture for a minute, because you see Charles Barkley going out there. He's just watching these girls play like, oh look, it's Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
It's Charles Barkley. Like, this is one of the saddest fucking things in any movie. This seems like a scene right out of a Darren Aronofsky movie.
Yeah.
And he just goes up and he's just like, hey, can I play with you? He's like, yeah, come on, Charles Barkley. And it's barely that far into the game. They just like, they steal the ball from him, they slam dunk it, they come back to him, and they toss the ball to him. She smacks it out. She's like, you're not Charles Barkley. You're just some wannabe. It looks like him. Get out of here. It's been a long fucking day. It's been a long 11-hour day at work, and we're doing this show later than usual. So they're prepare for a lot of like verbal fuck ups. Just prepare.
But no, I like that part because it's like, yeah, she's just like, you're just a wannabe, who looks like him. Get the fuck out of here.
It just
like,
goes
kicks
so
him in
bad
the shin,
so quickly.
pushes him out of the basketball court, like, you don't belong here. That's not where you go.
Well, it's just one of those things. It scares you. It scares nervous kids from actually wanting to go up and like, can I play basketball? You're no good. Get out! Get out! Like they just go full on primal on him. Just like, get out of here! Like, Jesus fuck.
I think especially as a white kid in the 90s who like looked up to being a black person being like totally awesome, because that was like what the 90s was really about. Like, I don't care who you were. Like, if you were white, you probably wanted to be black. Subconsciously, deep down inside, that's what when I was a kid, I'm like, man, being black's got to be so awesome, because that was all the 90s was about. Like, on TV, you just watch the whole time. It's like, dude, being black is so cool. Look at the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's like the coolest thing ever. Like, why am I not that cool? You know what I mean? So then you see that, you'd be like, God, if Charles Barkley gets thrown out of, like, the hood basketball courts, what do you think a white guy's going to do if he tries to show up there and say, like, hey, do you mind if I spot a game?
I feel your pain, Charles Barkley. I feel your pain.
Just like one of those ones.
Then they end up going and...
Shit, this day and age, I still go like, man, I wish I was black. If I was black, I'd be like the coolest bodybuilder.
Just roll in.
Just
like,
seems to work
hey,
out
I can
so
spot your
well
game.
guys.
If I was a black guy, I could spot their game.
Then poor Charles Barkley. I actually like that scene with all the basketball players like trying to figure out what's wrong with them, and it's almost like they're going to like all different types of things. Like they go to therapy and they got like acupuncture, or I don't know, they say they're gonna try acupuncture. They even try. I like when they go to like the psychic lady, and she literally explains the exact whole thing that's actually going on. She's like, oh well, these aliens from space came down and they sucked out your power so they could play the Looney Tunes in a basketball game with Michael Jordan. They're like, bullshit, that can't fucking be it.
Yeah, that was one of those things where, like, that's the movie full on addressing how ridiculous everything is.
Yeah.
And you even see one of them mouth to the other, like, Bugs Bunny.
And it's like, they're like, okay, we gotta keep going on. And they're like talking to therapists and so on like that, trying to really figure out what's going on deep down inside. There's even a weird
then
line
they-
in there too. I can't remember who they say it to, but they're like, is everything all right with you? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, how was your performance at home? And he looks at him like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, at home, in the bed, performance. When Mick Jagger shows up and David Bowie. Don't believe I don't know. I read Pete Townshend's memos.
He says, good, I'm just asking. He says, I'm just asking 3 times. And they find a way to fit that song, because, it's Barry White. It's like, Basketball Jones? Barry White going, yeah, 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 yeah. And certain responses is like, do you find yourself, yeah, having trouble performing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No! Just the weird pacing of how they just
It's
put
got
that
some good
song in
editing
there.
going on right there. I think that's actually one of the best scenes in that movie, too, is just that section.
Yeah, and then they actually go back to the game, and the game is starting. And it's just kind of a typical kind of man, we're starting off, we're doing bad, but then we start doing good, and, they start to utilize other Looney Tunes powers, which, it's one of those things, you have already the powers of God, so you just make shit appear out of nowhere. What's the fucking problem?
They got toned down, I guess, for that. This is the part that always makes me laugh, too. So they get to halftime, oh man, we're doing so bad, and stuff like that. Bugs is like, I got a secret. Here, Michael Jordan's special sauce. And it's just it sounds so weird. It's and everyone's
It's your special stuff. Everyone's all spraying it in
yeah,
their
they're like,
fucking mouth.
oh, it's fucking jerking it off and everything like that, and stuff like that. And Michael Jordan just got that confused look. I'm like,
I'll just go along with it.
Shit. He's like, I fell asleep a half an hour ago, or before this game for a half an hour. I'm really afraid of what Bugs Bunny was doing.
I'll just let him lead.
You know what I mean? Shit, he kissed me 2 seconds into me showing up, so I don't know what he's done after I've been here for 2 days.
I'm just saying, I sleep in a locked room while I'm here. I'm not going to be in the same. I'm not going to sleep in this universe with an unlocked door when Bugs Bunny's in the same area code.
Exactly. He's just a little bit. He's a little too friendly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he parties a little too hard.
Literally, David Bowie used the term that I can't party with Bugs anymore.
He's just too much. He's too much.
You think you're a hard partier, and then Bugs Bunny shows up. Even
like-
Nikki Sixx was put down by how much heroin Bugs Bunny could do.
He's like an even more insane version of Hunter S. Thompson.
That's the movie that we should have got. It's the Hunter S. Thompson meets Bugs Bunny movie, played with Johnny Depp.
I guarantee you that they would probably get along. I don't know. I think
because Johnny Depp could wear the funny hat, and all would be good in his world.
He gets to act all funny and silly. Yeah,
and then he's got Bugs Bunny, but it's a rated R Bugs Bunny movie, so it could be fucking weird.
The two of them doing a coke deal or something like that.
I feel Bugs Bunny is a character that's made to be a rated R character. I know that people would scream blasphemy the second you said you were making a rated R Bugs Bunny movie, but I kid you not, I feel like his comedy is so geared for being rated R.
I just feel like he's this guy who, I don't know, everything kind of goes his way, and I feel like, there's a reason, there's a trade-off for that. I feel like, he very easily slit the throats of his enemies. The thing is, they live in Looney Tune world, so everything just kind of they just bounce back and nothing bad really ever happens. But in our world, he'd be a cold-blooded fuck.
I remember as a kid, this sounds so weird, Bugs Bunny was my least favorite character of Looney Tunes. And I think it was just because I looked at, to me, in Looney Tunes, there's 2 types of characters generally. There's the character who's kind of almost the asshole, and for some reason that's the kind of the hero. And then there's the character who's the underdog that always gets shit on, and that's the other people. And I always felt I went more towards the Wile E. Coyote characters, because I remember as a kid be man, if Wile E. Coyote could just succeed and he could just get over having this dilemma, I feel bad for this poor bastard.
My favorite character was Wile E. Coyote, but after that it was probably Bugs Bunny. So it was kind of the total fuck-up underdog and the total, jock,
Yeah.
high school quarterback.
Because Bugs Bunny's the kind of guy, yeah, he totally is the guy in high school who could pretty much, beat up some poor retarded kid and then get go into the principal's office, and be hey, he was being stupid. You know what I mean? You need me on the team. You need me on the team. What are you gonna do?
He was looking at me. He was looking at me funny.
You know how he looks with the stupid goofy glasses, and he's got the halfway missing arm.
The principal's like, yeah, I gotta do what
Well,
you
you know,
think.
if we go to state,
Get
it's gonna
Bug
be for
out there,
you.
Bugs.
Yeah, like he's like the guy who's gonna get out of anything.
Yeah, Bugs does have that thing to him. So, anyway, so from there they end up just kind of like start doing good, and they have that whole like even that scene where it's like a Quentin Tarantino moment where they make a quick homage. Because another thing, 90s, so they gotta make a Tarantino reference, which I didn't get that at the time, but you know when I got a little older, obviously. And then from there, that's where the aliens are just like, they just kick up their game and they just start to beat them at the very end. They start to catch up. And that's where they just, I don't know why they're going to bring the stakes. I want Michael Jordan. I want him, not the Looney Tunes. And like, I was thinking, how fucked up would it be? Like, hey guys, we're fucking free. All right, see ya, Michael. They just leave him, like, deal with them the rest.
Like strapped up and taken into space. You're like, and then Daffy Duck's like, well, who's gonna have to explain to the kids that like Michael Jordan's gone? Yeah, not me. Fuck that job.
How about we just go and fucking find him? We told him we'd kill him if we told anybody. We gotta just make sure there's no loose ends. Like, Jesus Christ, Daffy, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just one of those ones, just like, because that's the thing is they did this deal where it's like, okay, well, here's the deal. You know what I mean? If we lose, you get me, Michael Jordan, and if you win, you got to give back all my friends' basketball powers.
All right, makes sense.
You know, well, I always like that part too when like they explain like the first like in the Looney Tunes. This goes back in the movie, but they go like, that they're gonna have to do, you know, they're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna be enslaved on there. You know, they're more on Mountain Planet, and they're gonna have to do stand-up comedy for, you know, endless nights. You know, the same act over and over. Like, it's like, Bugs, you think that's the worst thing they're gonna have you do is doing fucking stand-up every single night? That ain't the fucking plan they got for you.
Well, when he's explaining. Well, that just seems like, well, no, because that's monotony. Bugs would hate that, because that's monotony. That's the same thing. Bugs wants to fucking party.
Yeah.
Bugs wants to do a fucking pile of cocaine and fucking suck whatever he sees.
He doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to do a scripted like comedy routine that he didn't even make.
Yeah. He's very much kind of like the Joker. He just wants to go with the flow of it, you know? So he just wants to... I feel like he's just some guy. He's just a fucking deviant who just wants to do whatever the fuck he wants with no repercussions. And he perfectly fits into that world because he can't die. So, you know, none of them can, but he's the only one that's fully embraced it. So it's one of those things where I feel like that, like, you know, he just doesn't like the idea of being stuck and having to do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, like that.
Even though they're technically doing that because apparently every day they're performing their old skits they've been doing since the fucking 60s, sometimes even the 40s, for like, you know, like they're segmented.
Exactly, because they're doing like reruns and stuff like that because nobody's making any new episodes.
Mm-hmm. But Porky Pig's like, we gotta get going, guys. They're gonna fucking enslave us. And they, you know, the kid's like, what happened to the show? We were watching the Looney Tunes. And they just walked off or whatever. But I actually do like that transition because, like, Wile E. Coyote drops thing, flings off, and nothing going on the TV. And then all of a sudden, it just drops to, like, you know, him. That's how he gets there. You just see him crashing through the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. It works out well. It's kind of cool transition, if anything.
Mm-hmm. But, then, you know, they end up just coming in. That's where he realizes, oh, wait, we have Looney Tune powers here. I can stretch my arm out.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, I don't know why I didn't think about this before.
Oh, that's why I can't forget. Bill Murray came in. They had like a quick little joke, like they do a couple of jokes where they just reference how ridiculous it is and just kind of shrug it off. Like Daffy says, like, "Hey, just Mr. Murray, how'd you actually get here?" He's just like, "Oh, well, producer's a friend of mine. He just got a Teamster to drop me off." Yeah,
Ivan Reitman.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing too is kind of funny is because Bill Murray was only supposed to have like one scene in there, and they liked having Bill Murray so much that, like, and I think Bill Murray even liked just doing it anyways, that they wrote him that secondary scene later on.
Well, I think it could also be like, you know, Michael really wants someone to act against other than just like some guys in green suits on a green screen.
And this is right before they even had like, guys in green suits. It probably was just Michael Jordan just on a green screen, be like, "I'll be there when you get there, Michael."
I saw some like, you know, behind the scenes picture screenshots, and there was actually some parts where there were, because you could tell there was some of the way the Monstars move and all that. I think it was mainly for the Monstars.
Oh, that's
not
right,
so much Bugs Bunny. I think those guys were rotoscoped to some extent. So they definitely had it for that, but that had to be just feel so awkward, you know, just like, okay, now there's a big blue monster in front of you. You're playing basketball with. Go.
Yeah. You know, It's gotta imagine. You know what I mean? It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. He was just like, easy money. Here we go. I just got to play basketball. All right. And hang out with the Looney Tunes? I can do that. And,
I think I just always so calm about it. You know what I mean? That sounds like that's because this is like really like all my like notions of like Michael Jordan. Is this movie really tells me everything I need to know about Michael Jordan and his lifestyle.
He's just calm as fuck.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, so then that's where they realize, because they see Wayne Knight get, like, flattened. He actually gets a score in by accident, but he actually gets flattened by a bunch of the Monstars. And they're like, you know what we could actually do? We could actually do Looney Tunes shit. So at the last minute, he's doing that classic, like, legs out, one-hand basketball, and then the monsters start to pull him down, then his arm just stretches out. And what I actually do like about that scene is because it's down to the five they have at that point. It's Bill Murray, Michael Jordan, Daffy, Lola, and Bugs. I'm glad Bugs didn't take too much of the center on that. A lot of it was, first off, Bill Murray and Michael Jordan, but a lot of that was Daffy in that scene. So
yeah,
I'm kind of glad they kind of gave him a moment.
Well, that's nice. It's kind of pretty balanced. I mean, there's definitely the six, main characters. I feel they're kind of chosen over everybody else, but yeah, it's not like one person really like takes the whole show and that's it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from there, they end up, winning, and he says, like, hey, guys, whatever you have, yeah, whatever it is, yeah, well, I don't know what it is, but you guys got a lot of it, oh, and he just goes back to playing basketball. Well, first off, he goes back and lands and then to the baseball field, and it's like, oh, look, a spaceship, whatever.
Yeah, nobody, questions it. Oh, it's Michael Jordan, he probably has that kind of money.
Yeah, we're not going to question it, it's not a big deal, this is the world we live in. And then he just goes back to playing basketball, and they start playing the Seal rendition of Fly Like an Eagle.
Yeah, which I think they played about, twice in that movie before. Played a couple times.
Yeah. I think they play it when they're doing, the montage of them playing basketball, right when they're training and all that.
What's kind of the bummer, though, is, on the Spotify version of the soundtrack, it's, missing, not half the songs, but, 40% of them aren't on there.
The thing about this thing is, it's so interesting, because one of the other big songs on this, For You I Will, by Monica.
That's a good song, too. That reminds me of almost like the Pokemon To Be a Master soundtrack. That's what it sounds like.
It very much has that vibe. This kind of R&B, kind of best friend, maybe even a lover kind of song. Uh-huh. But really, if you put it in the context of this movie, it's like Jordan, Michael Jordan saying, I will do anything for the Looney Tunes. It's this thing. It's a very emotional song. It sounds kind of deeper. I'm kind of waiting for there to be because the opening of the movie starts off man, I want to be something one day. That'd be so cool. I just want to find what makes me happy. It's just yeah, we're not coming back to that. We got too much time to make funny jokes. But we have this song right here that kind of fits that early mood. As well as R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly.
Uh-huh. Well, it's
they don't really have a soft emotional moment for the movie.
No, I can't really tell you where that Monica song's at in there. I know that
it's in the credits because I was watching through the credits and I realized the songs that didn't make it into the movie earlier, they just played little snippets on there so they could throw it into the soundtrack.
Yeah, because that's what it is. Because that soundtrack was just ginormous, anyways. And then they got for the Monstars anthem, they got the Hit 'Em High one, which is not on the Spotify one. Kind of bums me out there. And that one's got a bunch of people. It's got Be Real, Busta Rhymes, Coolio, LL Cool J, and Method Man all on that for the Monstars jam.
Which is funny because I remember because my brother and my cousin, they listened to a lot of hip hop, and I remember I had the Space Jam soundtrack, and there is this whole other we had this rotating one of those old at the time it was really fancy,
the 6 CD changer thing.
Oh, it was the 8 one, so it was a big fucking deal.
Shit, you're fucking high rise living there.
Yeah, so I had the 8 one in there, and I remember at the very end, there was this Looney Tunes rap, where the Looney Tunes are just doing this funny little rap song. And then my cousin and my brother, they put in some hip-hop album, I didn't know what it was. And hey, this is the same album, Ryan. It is the same album? Yeah, just just when you thought it was over. Like, I guess it's like another Monster song. It's like, this motherfucker coming down, you know, just like gunshots going off. Like, oh, is this Looney Tunes? Like, yeah, it's Looney Tunes.
It's just another Monster song. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Because, yeah, you're looking at that like, oh, Cool J, okay, I can see that. Method Man, though, that's like, yeah, that surprised me a little bit. Busta Rhymes, all right, yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Well, yeah, it'd probably just like, oh shit, we'll be on a soundtrack. Why not?
It'll be an easy sell. Let's do this, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like the nice thing is I feel like that's the rappers will jump more at the opportunity like that, where a rock star might be a little bit more lazy about jumping at a soundtrack opportunity. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that is, but rappers have no problem being like, oh, they're doing a Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny movie? Hell yeah, I'll be on that.
Changing Faces and Jay-Z is on All of My Days with R. Kelly, too, huh?
Yeah, that's an interesting song, too.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, though, I like this album, though, still, like, it holds up real strong. Maybe it's because also, like, this is one of those movies, though, like, I can see if you did not watch this movie, kind of like when you were a kid, when it came out and everything like that. I mean, you could watch as a kid right now. If you were 10 years old right now and somebody's like, here, check out fucking Space Jam, it could be literally your new jam. But if you kind of came to this movie, like, once you're, like, 20 and above, I could see where it'd be like, oh, you might be able to appreciate it somewhat, but you will never have that, like, what makes this movie so, like, impactful. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it was also one of those things, partially, you had to be there. Secondly...
You like the JFK assassination. Or the moon landing.
Or 9/11. Or 9/11.
Or 9/11. You know, Space Jam's also in about that same category as all those events in life.
You had to be there, but at the exact same time, it's like... I feel like it's this thing, it just sounds so weird that people just fucking embraced it. Like, it's so weird, because there's a time where people be rolling their eyes like, I cannot... Because I had, like, 2 Space Jam posters in my room. I had, like, a stuffed animal of one of those little, like, of the Monstars back when they were small, like the Nerdettes or whatever they're called. And then there's the big purple guy. I had, like, a big action figure of him on my fucking dresser with a couple of like random Space Jam figures, you know. So it's like one of those things like this
Space Jam like coffee cup,
which is in Drunk Batman. Yeah. So it's like, pass me my MJ cup. And that was, I mean, not to sound like a bunch of hipsters, but that was before people would be referencing Space Jam randomly. And to bring it back to our friends at Painted Black, for a while there was a saying they had where it's just like, somebody said something really offbeat, like just something really random. I don't know what it related to. It was like, well, you seen Space Jam. And they just stopped. They started saying, like, I'm just imagining a guy going in, I think it was maybe Pete who said, like, imagining someone going into a doctor and just being like, well, it's not looking good, but, you seen Space Jam. Like that. And it just became this thing. All the other podcasts were just kind of coming in and saying, like, my wife left me, my dog ran away, but I seen Space Jam. So it's just like this thing like, oh, I prepared for it. I knew this was coming.
Yeah, exactly. One of those kind of things. Well, I remember like when I was on that podcast of like, oh fuck, what's it called, Josh? I'm like, So I Married a Movie Geek, and they did like their movie like countdown of like 1996. Shit, I said Space Jam right off the bat because I thought somebody else was gonna fucking take that. So I'm like, no fucking way am I letting anybody take Space Jam. And I remember later I got kind of like ridiculed for choosing Space Jam. And it was like, well, someone's like, fuck you guys. Like, well, I mean, not everybody was saying that. Like, some people were fine, but like some people was like, man, I would have chose Spencer's list, but he chose fucking Space Jam right off the bat. Like, no fucking way. The rest of them were all strong choices, and he chooses that movie. I was like, goddamn right I chose that movie. I stand by it. That's a fucking good film. Like, shit, where were you in 1996? That's all I have to say.
Not jamming.
Yeah, clearly. If Space Jam is not there for you in 1996, you didn't experience 1996. I'm sorry.
Well, a lot of this stuff regarding this movie right here, not even regarding this movie, just things about Looney Tunes in general. There's that period a little while ago. What they're trying to do is they're trying to, like, you know, we got all these characters, and they do hold a spot in people's memories. Let's try and make, like, let's try and do some, like, kid-friendly, family Warner Brothers movies, and they did a couple of things. They did this thing where it was sort of like a test. It was definitely all, like, you know, well-financed, and could have been, like, you know, in-product phase, but just like this little 5-minute, like, here's a Marvin the Martian little test thing. So you get an idea of what the movie's going to be like. And have you seen this thing?
I don't think I did. I don't know where I'd see it at.
Well, they have it on YouTube.
Oh,
I just
okay.
wasn't sure if maybe you saw it. Okay, well, anyway.
I didn't know if it played on like a movie or... See, that's what they should do, is they should put Warner Brothers cartoons back in front of Warner Brothers movies.
It's so fucking awkward. They're doing that Alvin and the Chipmunks thing where the rest of the movie's live action, but you got the little CG character. Well, this kid, and this one seems like it would fit right in the 90s. This kid, it's like a Christmas morning. There's a bunch of toys under the tree. He removes a box, and there's a Marvin the Martian in there. He's just like, I am Marvin the Martian. I will destroy the world. He's like, oh, it's not an Xbox, and moves it out of the way. He's like, I'm talking to you, and you must prepare, because I'm going to destroy the world, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he's like, where's the batteries on this thing? Then, this is one of the things where I'm like, whose idea was this shit?
Does he just rip up Marvin the Martian's, like, skirt and, like...
Yeah.
He
grabs him by the fucking balls. No, he grabs him. He grabs him by the fucking balls. It's off screen, and his eyes are like, those aren't batteries. And just jumps up and points a fucking gun at the kid. And then I don't know what happens, if he misses or if the kid dodges or what. But then the tree explodes, or the television explodes or disintegrates. Like, whoa, you have a ray gun? Like, yeah, like I can think of some fun things we could do with this. And it's just like, okay. So the kid grabs him by the fucking balls, and then he says, like, whoa, you got a gun? I know. Wait till Johnny at 5th period sees me on Monday. What the fuck was this?
Shit. Like, that's like the worst thing too. It's like, hey, the kid gets not only an alien buddy, but he's got a gun. Now he's super excited about it.
After he sexually assaults the fucking thing,
yeah,
too.
Exactly.
It was just one of those things, like, it was just like, here's, like, of all the things you could show to try and pitch this movie. Like, all right, well, here's the notes we know we gotta hit, the points we gotta hit. At some point, he's got to make a shitty little reference about, oh, it's not an Xbox. He's got to relate with the kids. He's got to reach him by the balls, and then once he has to be his friend once he sees he has a gun.
Yeah, because you know children love guns.
Whew. Yeah.
It's true.
So, no, I know.
What kid did not have a gun? If you didn't have a gun as a kid, does this like
a Nerf gun?
Nerf gun, like squirt gun, real gun, doesn't make a difference. A gun was a gun as a child.
Every kid, yeah, it's just built. It's America.
It's America, goddamn, we deserve guns.
What needs them? No.
It's said in the Constitution that every boy and girl deserves a Nerf gun and/or super soaker.
Upon entry of this great nation.
Yeah, just in case if the British ever come back, we could shoot them in the face if our, super soakers filled with our own piss. You're like,
do what you gotta do.
Ben Franklin, oh yeah, well, Ben Franklin was really proactive, I guess.
Yeah. He seems like the one that would pitch that, like, I got an idea! What is it, Frank?
What else did you invent?
Well, wait till you fucking see. First off, atoms! Yeah, fuck. Yeah, Frank. Piss into this! Like, Jesus Christ. No, so apparently what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and get a string of like Looney Tunes movies going, kind of in that same style, and then I don't know if they're going to lead up to like an Avengers of Looney Tunes, but they're going to get a couple of them, and Marvin Martian was the first one they're considering until that thing came out. Like, no, we're making a hard pass. This kid grabs him by... I'm just surprised by because it's a well-made CG Marvin the Martian, so I'm wondering how many people this had to go through before, like, do we really want the kid to grab him by the balls?
Yeah, out of anything you could have had him do.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, it's like, wait a minute, maybe just grab the full-on unit and everything else. You don't know.
I'm almost wondering, like, one of them, I was actually kind of thinking, whatever happened to the Tiny Toons? Because the Tiny Toons, they were, the whole theme of that, like Steven Spielberg was producing Tiny Toons, is like, okay, here's the idea. They're the next generation of Looney Tunes. And Looney Tunes aren't the main characters, but they can be there being, like, working at, like, training them. And, this is obviously meant to be the Daffy Duck character, that's meant to be the Bugs Bunny character, whatever. And make them just slightly different. I'm just wondering, like, where are all they now? Are they just all a bunch of delinquents? Like, man, nothing ever fucking panned out. My parents paid me to go to Tiny Toon Academy, but, I'm just fucking in the back alley sucking cock.
With the Burger King kids.
the Burger King kids while Pete Townsend writes it all down, documenting it.
I don't know. I know Steven Spielberg's bringing back Animaniacs, though.
Yeah, well, that's the Tiny Toons is one that people remember. Not everyone always talks about. People are like, oh yeah, Tiny Toons, but maybe because it was sort of a Looney Tunes spin-off, so it's like people have trouble seeing it stand on its own. So maybe that's why.
Well, it's kind of weird because, like, okay, Animaniacs is like really well remembered for some reason. Like, people remember that like it's no business, but nobody talks about Tiny Toons. That is such like
they came out around the same time.
Yeah, they came out at the same time. But, like, for some reason, like, you always hear Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, all those characters from there, but nobody ever goes like, oh, you know, Tiny Toons? I never hear that brought up. I don't know why that is. Because to me, Tiny Toons was the bigger show out of all those ones.
Well, Tiny Toons I remember watching a lot more and liking it more, but I think also at the same time, it's like, Tiny Toons also had, like, was a lot more straightforward for kids, where Animaniacs had a lot of hidden adult jokes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why that one kind of holds up more now.
Maybe that's the case, too. But I mean, they're all made by, like, the same people, so I feel Tiny Toons probably actually holds up really well, too. I mean, I know it's got that song, like, they're tiny, they're toony, we're all a little loony. We're smoking the crack, and Pete Townshend writes it down. Dude. I don't know why I remember that. I haven't even seen this show in, like, fucking 25 years, but I can, like, remember that song pretty well.
To bring it back to Pete Townsend, to make it all come back in some way, want to know one of the reasons why Iron Giant got made?
Because Pete Townshend wanted it? I don't know.
Kinda, yeah. It was originally going to be a musical, because...
It was really like, he's like, that was actually the description we used to call Mick Jagger's cock was the Iron
Giant. Oh, he's still going on, like, you know, like, just Mick Jagger's going to the movies one day, he's just like, he sees, like, produced by... Motherfucker! He's just trying to slide it out there. Mick, I'm just gonna flop this on out here and see who takes it. Like, oh, you fucking cunt. No, that was originally because Iron Giant, or I think it was called originally the Iron Man or the Iron Giant Man or something like that. But Iron Giant was an old children's book, and Pete Townsend was all for having that being made into an animated musical movie, and he was going to do the music for it. But then they kind of he backed out of it, and then it just became a regular adaptation to the book. I'm not sure how accurate it is, and the whole musical aspect went the wayside.
They're like, yeah, it's like, not gonna be a pinball wizard too, Pete. Sorry.
Yeah. Can a pinball thing shoot out of his chest and the boy plays pinball for a minute? Like, yeah, I don't know, Pete. Seems a little forced. It's like this would have been the other Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you ever seen that movie Tommy? It's fucking weird. That's all I have to say.
Seen parts. I was just like, I remember I was kind of going through like a major, I mean, I still like a lot of classic rock, but I was going through a major classic rock phase, and I had, like, you know, some of the obvious Who albums. And it's like, I'd never seen Tommy, but you know what? I'm going to go for the weird, obscure Who albums. I'm going to get Tommy, because it's just this, you know, because you don't want to be the guy who's like, what's your favorite Stones album?
Greatest Hits.
40 Licks. That's the Greatest Hits, you stupid bitch. You know, you don't want to be that guy. And so, I mean, if you do, I mean, now that you're older, you don't give a shit. But for whatever reason, you just imagine people being way more judgmental. Like, yeah, who's the lead singer? What's his name? You imagine that kind of shit. So,
how big's his cock size? What, you didn't read Pete Townshend's book? Come on. Get the program, man. Pete even drew a picture in there for you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. How many fists wide? How many fists wide? Like, he went into detail. You should know this. No, but it's one of those things where you don't want to just go in with like, oh, greatest hits. You know, you actually want to have like a couple random albums. So like, okay, here's Who's Next, and then I want to say like some other, I don't remember a couple of their older ones. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get Tommy, because Tommy, that one's a real offbeat one. And listening to it, like, fuck, maybe it's way more interesting with the visual aid. But fuck, this is a tough dick to choke down right here. So
yeah, I don't like that Who. I like the Who a lot, but that Who album's just a little too musical opera weird for me.
Because I remember it's just, a boy is born. Like, oh shit, I was hoping for like Mommy's Got a Squeeze Box or fucking Pinball Wizard or, you know, like My Generation. I was hoping for that shit, you know. But
I was hoping for some rock songs, not some fucking weird ass like play music.
The part where like the TV starts shooting out beans and she's all fucking dancing in it or whatever the fuck. Like, yeah. What cocaine can do for you.
I just better watch that because after you watch the Beatles movies, you're like, shit, the Beatles movies are fucking awesome. Like, everybody else got to have sweet movies too. And then you watch like the Who one, it's like, oh, well, shit, that ain't fucking Magical Mystery Tour. I tell you what.
Well, even like Yellow Submarine, you still really gotta like the Beatles to like Yellow Submarine.
Pussy, 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 pussy.
About that part.
Just right in the very beginning, there's a police officer just running around town yelling that out, which out of context sounds so fucking weird.
Oh, that wasn't out of context. They knew what they were doing.
That's the weird thing about that movie, though, is that the Beatles don't voice any of their characters. That's fucking weird to me, I think.
That is weird, seeing as they're known for their voices.
Yeah, so they're pretty much just characterized versions of themselves voiced by other people. It's weird. Remember, I said in the special features, and I was like, get the fuck out of here.
I wouldn't have assumed that from when I first saw it. I mean, I think you or Cisco told me that, but that's one of those things where thinking back, like, it's one of those things, like, I wouldn't have known that, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me because they're so big, like, I like these silly cartoons. Like, well, do you want to voice it? Like, I got shit to do. Like, I got to expand my mind. So we can get people that sound like us to do the voice of cartoons. It'll be fun while we drop acid and do, like, what was it? What was, like, there was the Dewey. Did you ever see Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox thing?
I saw the I remember it was one of those movies I started, and then for some reason, like, it was one of those, like, early days of streaming, and it got about, like, 25 minutes into it, and it was fucking hilarious, and then it, like, crapped out, and then I was never able to, like, finish it, and then I never got back around to it, but I liked the first 25 minutes of it. I thought it was fucking hilarious, actually.
I don't remember who's all who. I want to say Paul McCartney. They're all hanging out with the Beatles, and they're trying to get across everyone that they're the Beatles. And they keep on saying it. Like, it's just like, well, what do you think, Paul McCartney? They cut to Jack Black. Just like, well, me being Paul McCartney, the lead singer of the Beatles from Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool. And then I want to say Paul Rudd was John Lennon.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember who Ringo was, but I think George was Tusk. What was the Die Hard 4? Jason Long. Justin Long was, I want to say, George Harrison. And
I love how we always go to Die Hard 4 to figure out Justin Long. That to me is like the definitive Justin Long movie. I like him in like just about anything he does, but when I think Justin Long, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Even though it wasn't the first movie I saw, that's where he stands out to me.
That or Galaxy Quest, yeah.
Yeah.
And then and he's all what was it? Shit. Yeah, they're all just like saying, would you like to do acid? And then all of a sudden it just turns into like this Yellow Submarine parody.
Well, it's kind of funny because they said the voice thing. The reason why is that they thought the Beatles sounded actually too similar to each other. So by doing like the characterized versions of it, you can make them sound, a little bit different, like even more different than they already do. You know what I mean? Like take it to that next
level. You can just
level.
figure out who they are just from the way they fucking look.
No, it's just like, okay, whatever.
It's probably one of those things like they won't get it. That's why we got to give Arnold Schwarzenegger an American accent. Hercules goes to New York.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because like I have the DVD and you flip on Arnold's normal voice, he sounds the same as he does in any movie. It's like, what's the difference? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Just such a funny thing there.
We should probably wrap this up, but yeah, check out Space Jam when you can, folks.
You know what's another cool thing about Space Jam too is the fact that you can type in spacejam.com and it's literally the 1996 website. I was gonna say, like, you remember it. Of course, I didn't remember it. I didn't have fucking internet in 1996. Who the fuck was I? Like Michael Jordan? Like, shit, I didn't live in a house that had fancy things like internet. But
you know what? I'm gonna do that right now because this is one of those things I've heard about for a long time. And remember, it was a story that popped up like in 2014. And I think what happened is people realized, you know what? Let's just let it stay there. It's this weird little thing. I'm going to just type in and see what this thing is. It's apparently the same thing it is back in 1996.
Oh, it's amazing. I was looking at it before we did it.
Shit.
And you could click on it, and they got the special features and everything like that. And it looks like
Junior Jam, Stellar. Oh my God, site map. What? Oh, this looks like something out of GeoCities. Holy Christ!
See, and this is the thing. What I like about this is what I like. This is like old school internet that I really miss.
The trailer is gonna be like on micros. Oh my God, the super compressed like pictures they got here. Holy shit!
Well, yeah, because you had to fucking have it load up on a 56K modem.
I'm not complaining. It's just one of those things where it's like you don't see this anymore. This is just a flashback. This is like going on to like the computer during lunch in the 4th grade.
That's what I mean. It's like it's really actually pretty amazing, and just the fact that they have it there, because like It'd be interesting to know how many websites are still in this like 1995 style. You know?
You know, I bet it happened. I bet they probably had the domain. They probably did not want to change it, and they just probably left it there and assumed other people would forget. They probably forgot they had it themselves.
Well, it's probably one of
Then a
those ones
couple
back in the
stories-
day. It's probably like when you bought a domain, like you probably paid like, you know, a down payment, and that was it. You never paid anything else. So probably once they bought the domain Space Jam and set the website up, there was just no reason to go back to it. You didn't have to like, oh, well, that thing's costing us, you know, $100 a month to keep up there. No, it probably was just like, why not?
God, how many people think they make this like the home site they go to when they first on? Some people it's like Google or, you know, MSN, like, you know, news or whatever, but that's just like Space Jam. It's my starting site.
That'd be awesome. If Space Jam just had like a search engine built into it, I so would.
Cooling But our sponsors visit Jam. Oh my God. This whole thing, right? It's one of those things I heard about, but now actually going back to it, I'm like, Jesus.
It's underneath the Warner Brothers archive, so it makes me wonder if there's more like Warner Brothers archive material for different like old websites.
Yeah. Oh yeah, folks. If you don't know what the internet was like back in 1996, look up spacejam.com. And I even love the tab right here. It says Jam Central.
I know, it's pretty sweet. But yeah, that's what I just like about it. It's just like, oh my gosh. Like, like I really flipped around this for like a while because it's just like, this is so cool. And just like the posters that they have that you can look at.
If you go behind the jam, go behind the scenes of the most high-tech, high-concept, high-flying film ever fucking made.
Because this was like the future at the time period. You don't think about how big this movie was. I think that's the thing. Is like, this movie's one of those ones like, unless you were there in 1996, you can't understand exactly like how big this moment was. This was like the Ed Sullivan Show for us in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like when people talk about seeing the Beatles for the first time, that's what this was almost for us.
Yeah, they even have some earlier sketches in here of stuff that I don't even remember seeing in the movie.
I know there's some cool like behind the scenes kind of like character sketches and models and so on. It's kind of neat.
Flying golf ball looks like, oh, it's when Michael Jordan got his head bit from. Like, oh, they have like early things from the like golden snitch from Harry Potter or some shit. Right.
I like how it's like you can click on the pictures to download QuickTime movie clips.
Yeah, well, if you want to go back in time another way, folks, spacejam.com.
It is literally probably like one of the best ways I can think about going back in time. Like, because this, you know what I mean? You watch an old movie and you think that takes you back in time. When you see an old website, that like literally makes you like feel like, oh shit, I could be looking at this on my Windows 95.
Way more interactive, yeah. Plus it just takes you back like, oh yeah, I remember this.
But good stuff to be had there. Space Jam is always a classic to me. I don't care what people say. I know there's some naysayers out there that want to be like hating on the Space Jam, but it is always a movie that's always fun. I'm not gonna say it's like it's like the greatest movie ever made. It's like Oscar, award-winning films. Like no, it's not like Pulp Fiction or something that's like like that. But it's fun as fuck, and it's just one of those movies to me super special.
Yeah, definitely fond memories there, and a good movie to worth. Even if you've never seen it, if you're not into this kind of thing, give it a shot. It's educational at least.
But till then, check out oldmanorange.com for more fun stuff. And I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
We'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Be sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, animations, videos, and a whole lot more. You can easily support the show by buying something from one of our Amazon links on the website or in the show's description itself. Doesn't cost you a penny, but every single thing you buy from there just by using that link to take you to Amazon helps us out a bit. You can also really help the show out, though, by spreading the word the good old-fashioned way, and rate and review us on all the sites that you find this podcast, anything from iTunes to Podbean, to Newgrounds, YouTube, you name it, any little bit helps. Give a sub and share it to your friends, family, any jamoke you see out on the street, you let them know about Old Man Orange podcast. And be sure to check out the Old Man Orange comic book Pizza Boys on both Amazon and Comixology. Till then, we'll see you some other time.